Hello, I'm Jeremy Fogelson, one of the neurosurgeons at Mayo Clinic in Rochester. I'm a native Minnesotan. I grew up in northern Minnesota in Bemidji. It's a Native American name. It's the first city on the Mississippi. I attended undergraduate school there at Bemidji State University and then medical school at the University of Minnesota and residency in Rochester, Minnesota at Mayo Clinic. The only year I spent outside of Minnesota in my life was actually a year of fellowship in St. Louis. And that was with orthopedic spine surgeons working on complex spinal deformity surgery for both adults and kids. So my practice revolves around spinal deformity surgery, primarily scoliosis and other spinal deformities, complex surgery, revision surgery, etc. It seems lately I've been taking care of neurofibromatosis with spinal fluid all over the place. So lots of challenging cases, which are pretty fun. You can see in the background I have a case here, a 3D printed model of a case. The patient had a chin-on-chest type deformity plus an adult scoliosis down low, as you can see there. And that was just one of the cases from a while back. I think I have another model of a case with neurofibromatosis and just a complex revision case that I performed, pre-op model there. My research interests are primarily clinical, mostly collaborating with other researchers here at Mayo Clinic on projects trying to advance spinal deformity surgery primarily and other complex spine surgery. I've been in practice at Mayo Clinic since 2012, so I'm in my 9th year here. It's 2020, obviously it's COVID pandemic right now. So more personal things, I'm not afraid to disparage myself a little bit. For example, today, most patient visits are of course wearing a mask, and I used to have kind of a shaggy, not the best beard, but of course I shaved that off for the N95 masks, and now I don't always shave every day. I can grow a little bit of stubble, and I thought this morning, oh, I'm going to be wearing a mask, who cares? And then of course on my first video visit I realized I got this little crummy looking stuff, and then later today I have to make this video, so here I am with a little kind of a weak 5 o'clock shadow. Otherwise, personal life, I have 5 children. My wife is an attorney but stays home with our kids. Ages 15 down to 5 months, or our youngest child was born during the COVID pandemic. One of the first children, I guess, where you couldn't have visitors in the hospital, which was interesting and different. Hobbies, my primary hobby right now is hobby farming, and I have 110 acre land, which is about 8 minutes, about 5 miles from the hospital. So I spend some time doing that, growing cash crops as they're called, which is soybeans and corn. And this also this land has a lot of woodlands and river and streams and creeks and things. So I do a lot of hunting on the land too with my children and myself, primarily for white-tailed deer and turkeys. So what does it mean to be a farmer? Well, I have a combine, a huge green John Deere combine to drive and harvest the beans, tractors, trucks, lots of kind of fun toys. Other things you might find about me, if you do a Google search, you actually have to go down quite a while because things get overwhelmed by medicine now. But once a long time ago, I was a national champion curler. So that's the game on ice where you slide the stones down the ice and sweep and yell hurry hard. And I was a national champion in 21 and under, so there was no alcohol involved, but a lot of curling for people over 21 and are not, and the non-competitive side does involve some drinking. Unfortunately, one of the deficiencies of, probably the only deficiency in Rochester, Minnesota, is that there's no curling club. So they're working on that. Maybe someday it'll happen. So why come to Mayo Clinic? I trained here, and Whenever we're doing face-to-face interviews, I can usually spend about 30 minutes talking about why. And 30 minutes probably isn't enough, but I can spend a long time talking about why I really like Mayo Clinic, and I like the training program we have. I was fortunate enough to train in. And there's lots of things, and you'll probably, hopefully get to learn some of those through the various explorations and virtual meetings we have now. But some of the things I really like, the culture at Mayo Clinic is as good as anywhere that I've ever been and that I've ever heard of. And certainly, and one of the founding nuns apparently said, "No money, no mission." So I'm sure, maybe that quote could go to many different people, but obviously we have to be financially solvent. But in general, we pretty much always get back to the primary thing, which is the needs of the patient. And whenever well, actually, I'll be more open. I was recently wondering what to do on a patient that I didn't quite have the proper insurance approval on. And it's really obvious now, but at the time I was struggling with this decision. It was a last minute issue. I either needed to cancel surgery or do surgery without enough pre-approvals, or just not do the surgery the way I would want to do the surgery. And canceling didn't seem like a good option. It wasn't really fair to the patient. And so I was debating those other two choices. And I called one of my colleagues, actually a younger colleague who hadn't been here as long, but I knew he had dealt with a similar issue recently. And he just reminded me, was like, "Well, what's the patient need you to do?" And it was nice to hear that. And that's what I did. And so far, things have worked out well. But anyway, all the people here seem to really live by that statement, and that is a really nice place to work, because you can go home at the end of the day feeling pretty good about yourself. Obviously, there's hard days, but if you keep that primary value at heart, the needs of the patient come first above anything else, you'll do a good job. And that's really part of neurosurgery, of course. You need to sacrifice to make sure you take care of the patient. You can't have a moment of weakness. You can't blow off a phone call. You have to go check out that new neurologic deficit. You have to be dedicated. And I think that's really apparent here. As far as the training program, I think it's as good as anywhere else in the world. The breadth of clinical practice is tremendous. And it's not just zebras that we treat at Mayo Clinic. There's a lot of horses too. A lot of simple, relatively simple problems. Just because it's neurosurgery, people want to go to a place with a great reputation. They hear the word neurosurgery or spine surgery or brain surgery, and they want to go to a place with great reputation. So we take care of plenty of standard bread and butter cases, and plenty of ultra complex neurofibromatosis with spinal fluid everywhere cases. So I think that is great for a training program where you can really experience everything and develop clinical mastery of the field. From a personal, social perspective, I think Mayo Clinic is great because of the town that we're located in, the small city. And everyone's going to have different desires and what they want for the town they live in for 7 years. But I think it's just a convenient place to live. The crime's not too bad. The schools are great if you have kids. The traffic is amazing. There's really not a rush hour in Rochester, Minnesota. So if you happen to get done with work early during 5 o'clock rush hour, you still get home in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I remember in medical school, living in a larger city, a lot of times we were driving outside of rush hour because medicine obviously has long hours. But whenever I would get done early, say at 5 o'clock, I'd spend an hour or 2 hours getting home because traffic was bad. So I really enjoy that part of Rochester. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll put in one last comment. Of course, Rochester is known for being cold, and that can be a problem. But my philosophy is if you're cold, you're underdressed. Simple as that. If you're cold, you're underdressed. Of course, there's some places where you cannot get away from the heat unless you go inside in the air conditioning. You can't really take off more than no clothes. And if you're really not sure about this, I'll put in a shameless plug. My family has a business, and my brother and my father and whatnot. I'm not invested myself, but a family business selling snowmobile jackets. So if you end up here and you're cold, I'll help you get a discount at Up North Sports. Anyway, I'm just kidding there, but it's the cold weather is annoying. But in general, it's not that bad. You just need better clothes, and nowadays there's great technical clothing to wear outside when it's cold. You can live in a warmer climate somewhere, but the Mayo Clinic Rochester volume may not be there, and certainly it's going to be really hot in the summertime in those places. So come to Minnesota, you won't regret it.